Okay, so just to touch on the last point we want to make, because it's a pretty big topic, so I want to give us a little bit of time to dive into this here. But psychedelics, how has that allowed you to connect to the divine, and how have you used that in your life to better connect to that positive way of thinking and that more observer state of yourself? What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, so I think psychedelics are a huge way that people can tap into certain waves and certain frequencies, because it lets your guard down a little bit, because I feel like all the time we're kind of operating on this, like, we're doing this and we're doing that, but then when you do a psychedelic, it kind of breaks down that barrier where you're able to feel a little bit more and be a little more open to what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had some great experiences with psychedelics. I've done shrooms a significant amount of times. And I've felt, I've had bad experiences where I just feel like I'm so trapped. But then if I look at it from a bigger perspective, I'm actually feeling trapped in my life in general. And I need to, like, work through that. And then there's been times where I've made, like, full breakthroughs where I feel like I've basically, like, conquered the reason of the universe. And, like, I figure out my purpose, and I'm like, okay, I've always kind of known my purpose was something greater. Like, I was actually talking to my friend the other day, and I didn't even recognize that I did this. And she was telling me that from, like, a young age, from, like, sophomore in high school, she said, you always told us that you were going to, like, make it big and do something big, and, you were going to influence all these people. You always said that. And I was like, I don't remember saying that, because I don't remember being that confident that I was going to change anybody's lives. And now this thing has shifted for me, where I feel like I really want to share what I have, because I think I have so many things that can help other people. And I never really noticed that. And I started dabbling in, like, psychedelics in, like, high school. And then when I was in college in Santa Barbara, I had the most profound, insane experience of my whole life, which was on salvia, which was legal.
Oh, wow. I've never done that.
So it was legal in Santa Barbara.
It's legal everywhere, I think.
Is it still legal?
I'm pretty sure.
It should not be legal.
I agree with that.
It should not be legal. It's, like, the most powerful psychedelic. I wouldn't even put it in the same class as mushrooms. It's not
it's not
the same. And I was alone in my apartment in Santa Barbara with my dog, and I was like, I'm just going to smoke some salvia today, and, like, literally had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had no idea. I didn't do any research. I didn't do anything. Skyla. Right? Yeah. Okay. So I'm sitting there.
This girl's crazy. She's crazy. What?
So I'm sitting there on my couch. It was also April Fool's Day, which I think is just funny to add in there. And so I'm sitting on my couch. I take a bong out and I rip a bowl. Nothing happens. And I was like, this ain't shit. I packed another bowl and I ripped the second bowl, and I'm sitting there on the couch, and all of a sudden the whole room breaks in half and crumbles down, and I crumble down with the room, and I'm crumbled down all over the floor, and everything was in all these different triangles, and my body was split into all these different triangles all across the room, and I went to this other dimension. Like, I went to another place. And as this is all happening and I'm broken all over the place in the floor, like in the ground, I also, like, fell over, like on the couch. And I wish I had recorded this, because it was probably insane. And so I'm pushing this wheel that's, like, going downwards. And I was pushing this wheel with every bit of strength that I had of my entire existence. I was pushing this wheel that was going down. And there was this triangle over here that had an eyeball in the middle of it, like the fucking Illuminati. Creepy as hell. And I noticed that this triangle has a presence to it. And it was like an entity that was over here. And then I start talking to the entity, and I was like, what's going on? Like, am I dead? Where am I? What the fuck's going on? And it's like, what do you mean, what's going on? Are you dead? You were never alive. You've always been here. And the place that I was felt like I had never been anywhere else. The place that I was felt like I had always only been there. And so I'm pushing the wheel, it's going downwards, and I'm like, but wait a second. what do you mean dead? Like, I was alive. Like, what about Skyla? And it started laughing at me. And it was like, ha, 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 Skyla? Like, what do you mean, Skyla? Skyla doesn't exist. Like, you've always been here. Like, Skyla doesn't exist. And I was like, but wait a second. And, like, okay, also simultaneously, my dog is, like, floating in triangles. And I'm like, well, can I bring my dog with me? Like, can she come with me to wherever we're going? Little side note, that also happened. She's, like, floating in triangles. I was like, can my dog come? And so it's laughing at me, basically saying, like, Skyla doesn't exist. And I was like, but I don't think that's true. Like, I have memories of Skyla. And then all of a sudden, this flip book started happening over here of my life. And there was this memory of my brother and I playing in the garden when I was like 2. And I think it was my first memory. And it was flipping the book, and the book was going away from me, and I was going down. I was pushing the wheel down, and the book was going away. And I was like, fuck this. And I started pulling back on the wheel. With everything that I had, I started pulling back, and I was like, you're wrong. I'm Skyla. This is my life. I'm fighting for this right now. And it took like every ounce of strength that I had pulling this wheel backwards. And then all of a sudden my like sound started coming in of real life.
It's a short-lived trip, right?
Who knows? I mean, it lasted forever for me. Yeah. And so I'm also playing this like drum music, so it's like like fucking like ritualistic music because I just love to mess with myself. And so I like the sound starts coming in and I was like, oh, wait a second, Skyla put this music on. Skyla's weird ass put this music on. And so at this point I'm like on the floor, right? I'm like on the floor because I can't see anything in my apartment. I'm still in this other dimension. And my phone was on one of those like speaker systems where your phone's like plugged into it, like one of those old iPod thing, ones. Yeah. And so I'm on the floor because I could hear the music. So I'm getting closer to the music and I'm listening to the music. And then I smack the phone off of the little speaker, and then all the visuals stop, and I'm like, boom, back in my apartment, and the music was gone, and I was just back in my apartment. And it was like I time traveled, or I don't know what happened, and I was just like back in my apartment, and I was like, what the hell just happened? I was like, hello? Like, are you still here? Like, what's going on? And I sat on the ground for like a good hour trying to like contemplate what the heck just happened to me. And finally, I was like, okay, we're going to get on our day here. And I stood up, and I had this really big mirror in my apartment, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and my whole aura and body was just glowing like an angel. And this is like an hour after I did the salvia. So, I mean, I wasn't still tripping. And it was like I was just fully glowing like an angel. Like I had never seen myself in that light before. And I just started crying because it was the first time in my entire life that I felt so happy to be me. And I felt like I fought to be me when it came down to it. I fought to have this life, even though I've been through some really terrible stuff. And sometimes I felt like there was no way out. But when it came down to it, I fought to be me and to have this life. And I felt like so overwhelmed. And I felt like I really, like that was a breakthrough moment in my entire life because it changed my perspective on how I love myself. I love that. And I was like, wait a second, I do love myself, and nobody, even if I'm literally dying, going down in a freaking thing, it's not like nobody can, if some crazy entity on a salvia trip can't tell me that like this life isn't real and everything that I've built isn't for a purpose, like nobody can tell me anything. And I have this little like triangle tattoo that I got. That's like the way that the triangles looked. It was like isosceles triangles all over the room. And so that for me has been like the most insane experience that I've ever had, because I feel like I just got so much closer to how I love myself.
Right.
And I thought it was such a beautiful experience.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, I want to do it again someday, but a little scared.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone have a really good salvia experience.
Wait, I forgot to mention. So after I did the salvia, I did research, and a bunch of people reported that they were pushing a wheel and that they saw triangles on salvia. And so I think at some level, we're all pushing a wheel of energy. We're all pushing a wheel. So I think there is some version of me that is in the place that I went.
Yeah.
And that's why it felt like I had always been there. Because
That's
I have.
so interesting that you say that, because like the way that you said when you were there, it's like that's where you've always been. Because have you done DMT?
No, not yet.
Okay, so I've done DMT a lot, probably 10 plus times. But I will say the first night that I did it like I blasted off like 5 different times that night. And the first time that I went, it felt like more familiar than anything I've ever felt.
Yeah.
Like I kept remembering thinking, of course, these people are here. Of course, this is the decor here, and this is like the way it's all set up, and this is the energy, and this is the sounds, even like just everything about it felt like my soul had been there for always.
Felt
like for
so undeniably
always.
real.
Yes. Undeniably the most real I've ever felt. And it felt very like home. Like that's where like my soul
That's where you've
is.
always been.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also had another experience that same night, the first time I did it, where I was getting comfortable. I think this was like the 3rd time I did it. And I was getting comfortable with the way that you leave your body. Like you really feel yourself leave your physical like boundaries. Like you know how like we're bounded in this physical body. But when you get used to the place that DMT takes you, so like I said, it was like the 3rd time. So I'm like kind of understanding what I have to do to get there kind of thing. And so I started immediately this time when I started feeling it, I just let go.
Yeah.
Like completely let go of my body, and I could feel myself expanding into everything. I mean like the whole universe. Like I felt like my conscious awareness was just going on for infinity. Like I could feel myself becoming everything.
That's so beautiful.
And then once I got there and I was really fully just not bound by anything, once I finally was completely free and expanded into everything, I was presented with these deities and they were showing me a symphony. And I was realizing that the symphony, the vibe that I was getting from the music was dependent on how I was feeling. So they were showing me like when you have this happy feeling, the music sounds happy and bubbly and exciting. And if you feel scared or confused, then it gets a little darker. And like what I took from it was that your feelings control the symphony that's orchestrating your entire reality. And so it was just such a beautiful lesson because like I've always understood that. I've always understood feelings as like a divine sense, you know, like how we were talking about in a previous episode, we have more than 5 senses. But yeah, I think feelings are one of those senses, and I think they're direct from the divine. And I think
it's an indicator of how you should act.
Yes, it's an indicator. Yes, exactly. It's almost like a compass, you know,
you shouldn't like let your feelings overwhelm you. You should go, hey, I'm feeling this way. What is this telling me?
Yes.
Instead of letting it run you over, say why. And I also learned this recently that I thought was so amazing is that angry is just sad's bodyguard.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's real.
Yeah. That you just need to pay attention to your emotions. Don't let them overwhelm you, but just say, how can I navigate this?
Yeah, and I think also it goes back to the point that we brought up in the last episode about how language is limiting. Because we define this feeling as angry, and then so it has this negative association with it because it has that definition, and that's just how our brains work. And this is okay. So this goes back to my point that I wanted to say when we first got into this topic of psychedelics. The reason why, how you were saying in the beginning, it kind of opens you up a little bit and it allows you to think in different ways. And the reason why is because your neural plasticity is at an all-time high. So most of the time, your neural pathways aren't very plastic. They're not like able to move around very easily.
So it literally does open up your senses.
Yeah. So your neural,
like scientifically.
Yes, scientifically.
That's cool.
At least psilocybin. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm sure psilocybin and LSD are very similar in that regard. I'm not sure how, DMT plays into that, or salvia, or any of that. But I know as far as psilocybin, for sure, your neuroplasticity is at an all-time high. So there's this picture that kind of expresses this. If you like look up a Google image of increased neuroplasticity on psilocybin, you'll find this image, but it's like a circle, and it shows like your normal brain pathways, and it's just like a few of them. And then when you're on psychedelics, it's like a crazy amount of all of the connections all over the whole circle. And it's because like you're allowed to think outside the box. Like when you're on psychedelics, your brain just allows you to see these different perspectives and these different, you're not stuck.
Yeah, and it finds the best pathway,
the path of least resistance.
Yeah, the path of, like, have you seen the one? It's like in the Japanese railroad or system where there's an underground railroad system.
The slime mold.
And they put the like, what is it, a mushroom or not? I think it's a mushroom.
I think it's slime mold.
Slime mold.
So most like single cell organisms always are working towards finding the path of least resistance. So they put the food of the mold where the railway stations are, and then it rerouted their entire,
found a way better pathway,
way better path than what humans could find, because the slime mold will always grow towards the path of least resistance. And so, that's how I know exactly what you're talking about. But it's crazy. It's insane.
Yeah. It's like, I want to do ayahuasca really bad, but I want to do it right, where I go like for like 2 weeks and don't have my phone and, don't communicate with anyone from the outside world and do that whole thing. 'Cause I feel like that is such a deeper experience than anything, but I'm also not looking for it. I think it'll find me when I'm ready.
I have always said that.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna go searching for it, but I think it'll find me at the perfect time where I'm ready for it, but I'm not there yet. And there's so many different things that I want to experience, but I think that they get brought to you when you're ready. And psychedelics should be used as a tool and not as like trying to numb yourself or escape something. They should be used to try to better yourself and your environment and the way your brain works. And I think it's so important.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah.
That's just how life works.
And I will end it on that. So
yeah, guys, we have to wrap it up, but we will get more into psychedelics another time, because I knew, that's why I tried to bring it up a little early, because I'm like, we could talk about this for 10 years. So we'll do a part 2 to our psychedelic journeys. And
well, thank you. Stay tuned.
Thanks, guys.